expand on the concept of inflection points and perhaps walk us through a few that you've explored in your book? That would be great.
Sure, I'd be delighted. So as I said, a strategic inflection point is some event that dramatically changes what's possible at any given point in time. So just to take as an example, the rise of the direct to consumer cohort of companies. So these would be companies like Dollar Shave Club or Casper in mattresses, or Glossier in makeup, Stitch Fix in clothing. These are all companies that have realized that given today's technologies, you don't need the conventional retail value chain. So if you think about a Procter and Gamble, in conventional retail, they invest in R&D that allows them to make great products for which they can charge a premium price. They use their armies of salespeople to distribute these things to various retail channels, and underpinning the whole thing is, hundreds, tens of billions of dollars of mass market advertising. Well, if you think about it, once you've got YouTube, once you've got Facebook, once you've got Amazon Web Services, once you've got Google, once you've got these huge platforms, the constraints that there used to be upon your ability to communicate have radically changed. So, it's interesting because if you think about YouTube, just as an example, if you wanted to get a visual message like this one to millions of people worldwide, back in the day, you had to be a media empire. You had to run your own studio. You had to really be, in a completely different plane, and that created entry barriers, and that created the need to have assets to participate equally. And so what you find is that today, like two kids in a garage with a smartphone, can rival what Metro Goldwyn Mayer did, all those years ago. And so a lot of our assumptions about, nobody could take us on, it's too expensive, it's too whatever. If you think about something like Dollar Shave Club versus Gillette, right? Dollar Shave Club was all about, who needs these guys? We'll send the shavers directly to you. You don't have to deal with the razor fortress in the store because they're afraid of being shoplifted, and Gillette didn't even see it coming. For years, their business model was better technology, and if you think about it, what were the big innovations in shaving? Well, 1990, we had the rise of the sensor, and some bright spark over at Gillette said, hey, we could put two blades on a stem, two, and that'll be better than one. And they had this fantastic cartoon to launch this thing with, where in the cartoon, the first blade would come along, kind of pick the hair up from your face, and then the second blade would slice it off, and that was awesome. And this thing was so great, it became a business school case study. The launch of the sensor. And this took them for about 10 years. And then about 10 years later, they said, need the next innovation, the next thing to kind of keep the product category alive. And what did they come up with? Three blades. This was awesome, right? And 3 is better than 2, and 2 is better than 1, and charge higher prices. And they sort of settled back thinking, okay, now we're just going to let that machine run for another 10 years. And then strategy disaster strikes, right? Schick comes to market with the world's first 4-bladed razor. My God, the catastrophe. You can imagine the consternation in Gillette headquarters. Well, what do? They tie everybody up with the lawyers, and then they rush to market with 5 blades, because 5 is better. And, I think what's interesting to me about that story is Gillette is an incredibly successful company, and their product line has had a competitive advantage for decades, which in this day and age is very hard to pull off. But their assumptions were all colored by this notion of 3 is better than 2, 2 is better than 1, what's Schick doing, what? It never dawned on them that, basically a guy and his buddy could come up with a viral video, that would appeal to a certain category of typically young men, and that this whole business model of shipping direct to consumers would ever be sort of economically possible and feasible. And Dollar Shave Club sort of paved the way. And so today we have this entire cohort of direct to consumer companies that have bravely sought out whole new business models based on this inflection point represented by today's modern communication technologies.